3, 2, 1, we're live. That's what they told me. We have RJ over here and we got Paul over here. So they tell me we're live. I'm going with that. We'll see. But thank you all for being here for episode number 110 of Elk Talk Live. That's crazy. 110 times we've done this. And I don't know that someone's talking about Bozeman, the fact that we have a one-way street and they got turned around or something. But anyhow, why people listen to what I have to say is somewhat of a mystery to me. I was in Portland last week and I did 4 days at the Northwest Sports Show, and I did a Q&A, elk hunting Q&A session at every one of them. And it was amazing how many people stopped me afterwards and asked me questions. And I'm like, darn, I wish they would ask that question in the seminar. But anyhow, a bunch of you sent me questions today. So I think we've got some good stuff to go with. Public service announcement. Montana deer and elk deadlines are tomorrow, April 1st. That's not an April Fool's joke. It's tomorrow. And this one, Colorado, is due April 6th, 8 p.m. Mountain Time. So don't miss this one either. Because if you miss them, odds are you're not going hunting there. And both states have really good elk hunting. Now, Colorado is kind of the fallback option for everybody because they have over-the-counter second season rifle, over-the-counter third season rifle, and some of their units are over-the-counter for the archery season. So, if you don't draw that tag you've been dreaming about, there's always Colorado. And in Montana, last year, if you had 2 preference points, your odds of the general elk tag was 100%. If you had 1 point, it was about 65%. And if you had 0 points, it was about 60%. And some people say, well, how can that be? Well, in Montana, we give 25% of the tags randomly and 75% based on the point level. While some people are drawn in the 25% pool. And then Montana, we get a lot of people who get their tag or ask for a refund of their general tag. And so when those get refunded, if you said, hey, I want to be in the pool for the reallocated tags, if you have 0 points, there's a chance you're going to get one of those tags. So there's a lot of ways that you can be going elk hunting this year. And I'd strongly suggest it. So all kinds of questions already, man. Someone says it's 88 degrees in San Diego and they're going rock cod fishing tomorrow. I don't think it's going to be 88 degrees here in Bozeman tomorrow. When I flew home from Portland on Sunday night, it was blowing so hard in Bozeman. They flew us from Portland to Bozeman. We circled the airport for almost an hour. It was too windy, so they flew us back to Portland. And then I flew from Portland to Seattle that night, and then we flew back to Bozeman, and we landed in about a 50-mile-an-hour crosswind. Oh my gosh. I'm not much of an amusement park ride, but that was kind of it. Hey, Dave's here. Cool. Dave always has our FAQs, or frequently asked questions. So don't hesitate to click the links that Dave throws out there, because we take all these questions that you give us, and a lot of them can be answered at the FAQs. So anyhow, we want to make sure that you know who makes this possible. I forgot all my hats today. They're all stacked up over here. We got Bowtech. Right here. This isn't the new solution. This is last year's Revolt, but I'm getting it set up as my spare bow. Going to be set up with the ripcord, tight spot, black gold setup. Go hunt. I always are the company that asks us to do anything and everything that gives information. So if you want to use their insider and become a member, use promo code Randy and they'll give you $50 in their gear shop. But with all the questions we have, here's a good one. Randy, please get Noddler to release some ammo. I need to start practicing more at the range. And any info when Nosler is releasing more hunting ammo? They're releasing it every day. I talked to them today. I said, hey guys, am I too late to get an order in for a few boxes for this fall? And they said, get it in now. So what is now? End of March? And I'm going to need it in October? Yeah, we're looking at a 6-month lag for me to get a couple boxes of ammo. So I was out in Bend 2 weeks ago, and they are just working their brains out. So these boxes right here, I think these could be like my investment portfolio. I think they get more valuable every week due to the ammo shortage, and I don't see it getting any better. Let's see, someone asked this one. This is a question I don't know the answer to. I know that you need it. Randy, can you complete the hunter safety for Colorado virtually, or is it in person only? I know you can do an online course, but I don't know if you have to do a field day. Most of the states have waived the requirement for their in-person field day as a result of COVID. But if you're born after January 1, 1949, you need to have hunter ed to hunt in Colorado. So I'm old enough that in some states I skate underneath the wire, but I'm not that old. So I got to have it for Colorado. Here's one, Eric, this is a good question. I get it a lot, and it applies to Colorado. And the reason we're going to talk about Colorado so much is after Montana's deadline tomorrow, the next deadline's Colorado. And Colorado is the most popular elk and deer destination for non-residents. And they give us 35% of the limited entry tags. So if anyone complains about Colorado as a non-resident, you're complaining about the wrong thing. They're super generous to us. So Eric says, is Colorado worth building preference points for elk, or is it best as a fallback over-the-counter elk state? Yes. Build preference points, and in the years you're building those points, go hunt it as over-the-counter if it fits your calendar and your budget. That's what I do. I think this year I'll be hunting at over-the-counter elk because I'm hoping that I can sneak in and draw a deer tag. I'm going for one of the really low-level deer tags. I only have 2 points, but if I were to draw, I could put an elk tag in my pocket because it's an over-the-counter elk unit, and I could be there doing a combination hunt. So we'll see how that goes for me. But what I do, I try to build 2, 3, 4 points. Last year I burned 3 points in Colorado. A lot of people drew that hunt last year with 2 points. I used 3, but there's some really good hunts in Colorado for 3 points. So yes, build points and then go there as a fallback option if you possibly can. Hey Randy, what's your favorite piece of equipment for your bow? That's that's like saying, do I prefer peanut butter or jelly? Do I like chocolate chip or do I like peanut butter cookies? That's a hard one. I don't know. I would say the product that's been on my bow the longest is my black gold sight. I've never owned a bow that didn't have a black gold sight. Yeah, and like the tight spot quiver I have on mine, that quiver I got the first year tight spot came out, and I'm still using it. So I say that to give you some perspective of it's really hard for me to pick one or the other. Let's see. Let's see, where's that one? I saw another one here. As a non-resident, if I don't draw my tag in Montana, can I buy a tag over the counter from people that have declined their tag? It used to be that enough people returned their tags that once they reallocated, there were still a few leftovers that went first come, first served, but that hasn't happened for quite a few years, so the answer is probably not. As we're seeing how much interest there is in hunting, fishing, outdoors, all that stuff, it's like, whew, that's That's the trend this year is not going this way. It's probably going to go this way again. And that's with fishing, camping, hiking. I mean, a pandemic, a once-in-a-lifetime pandemic, seems to have got more people interested in the outdoors than all the promotion that we've done about take a kid fishing or R3, recruit, retain, reactivate. Seems like the pandemic's done more than all those efforts combined. Let's see. These are about these limited opportunity tags in Arizona. The Arizona draw is already done, so it's mostly about the question of when to hunt. Randy, due to not getting drawn in Arizona, my wife and I got leftover limited opportunity cow elk tags in Arizona, October 15th through the 21st, looking to fill. What are your thoughts on limited opportunity hunting? I like it. I've had those limited opportunity tags twice. I shot a bull on one of them. I should have shot a bull on the other. And Uncle Larry shot a bull on one of them. They're good. What you guys call limited opportunity in Arizona, most other states would call great hunting. Hey Randy, do you bring a backup gun on hunts in case something stupid happens, or if you would accidentally do something stupid to the gun? Yes, I always do. Are you doing any more shop stories? We really enjoyed the ones you've done so far. We're working on it. What was that thing we did the other day, RJ? What do we call that? AMA, Ask Me Anything? So I don't know what this is. The crew has put it all together. I just answered the questions. And it's kind of, what would I say? It's kind of a shop story. I'm sitting in my shop and I'm just answering all these questions. But, I knew this question was going to come up. Hey Randy, have you seen the Meat Eater Matt Ranella article? And if so, what are your thoughts on hunter recruitment? Are we getting too crowded? You know, I'm going to go against the grain here. I'm going to give Meat Eater a lot of credit for bringing that topic up. And I was out of town, so I didn't get to read it till over, I think, Sunday I downloaded a bunch of stuff and I was reading it on the airplane. But Matt kind of says, hey, we're already too crowded. Why are we putting all this effort into hunter recruitment, R3, retain, recruit, retain, reactivate? And I know some people feel that way, but too crowded is a function of hunter density. Hunter density is a function of how many hunters are using the space at the same time. So there's two ways you combat hunter density. You either have fewer hunters, and this is numerator denominator, right? Or you have more access. And we're losing access every year. Every time we see urban sprawl or suburban sprawl, we lose access. Anytime a bunch of people used to go and hunt that farm over there, and then someone else comes in and someone just leases it for huge dollars, and now only 2 people hunt where 12 people used to hunt. Those other 12 people or 10 people get replaced to somewhere else. We have a lot of instances where folks in the Midwest have been leased out, and it's cheaper for them to come and hunt the public lands of the West than it is to hunt in their backyard. So when we lose access, that contributes to the things that I think Matt was expressing in his article. And our platforms right here says promote self-guided public land hunting and create advocates for that cause. We have been involved in all kinds of access issues. We get involved in legislative things, we get involved in land exchanges, we promote any kind of access for public hunting, and I don't care if it's on public land or if it's access to private lands. And our theory is that it's not an either-or proposition. There's really 2, maybe 3 parts to that discussion. One is the number of hunters. The other is the landscape to disperse them and spread them out on, i.e. access. And the other is conservation. How do we make sure we have enough wildlife spread across the landscape, especially in the places where the hunters are going, where they have access to, so that we have kind of an equal distribution of where they want to go. Because if we don't focus on conservation and there's not much game on the public lands or the accessible lands, everyone's going to be in the same spot where the small amount of remaining good habitat is. If we don't have more and more access and preserve the access we have and work on building other access, all the R3 in the world isn't going to do us any good if we don't focus on the things of access in the other part of conservation. And so it was interesting to read the article. I was waiting for Matt at the end to get to, so here's how we solve it. And from what I gather, they got a lot of feedback on that. So I'm glad they brought the discussion up because I think it's a very valuable discussion. And I want to talk about it in a bigger context of more than just the recruitment and retention side, but also the access side and the conservation side. So anyhow, Randy, how do you feel about bringing a dog to hunt with you during a rifle season to possibly track an elk? I'm assuming you're saying to track an elk that might be hit, because in most states, bringing a dog to track an elk, I don't know any Western state that allows you to bring a dog to track elk while you're out hunting. Now, some states will allow you to track an elk if it's been hit, but not all states. In fact, a lot of the Western states do not allow you to use blood tracking dogs. So make sure you know the rules in the state that you're going elk hunting in. So, Randy, would you rather hunt in a location that has fewer elk and fewer hunters, or a unit that has more elk but also more hunting pressure? That depends. I mean, I normally go where there's fewer hunters, but if there's so few elk that the odds of the populations are so low that odds of success or odds of encountering one are really low, then I'm going to go to the place where there's more elk and more hunters. And as a general rule, hunters are adaptable enough to follow the units where the populations are rising and doing good. So unless it's a really limited entry permit situation, you're not going to have a lot of high elk number, low hunter number. So it's going to be somewhere in that intersection there. And I focus mostly on bull to cow ratios, cow to calf ratios, because those two tell me what the cow to calf tell me the general health of the herd. Hopefully it's at least staying level or increasing. The bull to cow ratio tells me how much the herd is being affected by hunting pressure. So if I got bull to cow ratios that are under 15, I'm looking somewhere else because that herd's getting hammered. So that I look at those, and then I look at success rates. And I know that success rates can be a function of, okay, it was a really warm year, so last year wasn't that good. So I'm looking at 3 to 5 year success rates and averaging those out. And that's what I'll be doing in Colorado when I do over-the-counter hunts there. I look at all those things, and if you go to the Go Hunt service and sign up for the Insider, they have all that right there. It's so easy. It's like boom, right at the tip of my finger. So let's see. Thoughts on the Montana Big Game combo tag that I would apply for by tomorrow? Is it a good deal, or should I focus on just the deer or just the elk tag? Here's the weird part about Montana. The areas with good elk hunting are probably our lowest quality deer hunting. And our places with the highest quality deer hunting have no elk, or everything's limited entry elk. So I tell people, pick one or the other and go do it. And I know some people say, well, I'll go out and make one trip in archery season for elk, and then I'll come out in November to make a different trip for deer. Okay, that works. But in Montana, even though we have that option of getting both, it's really hard to pull off, because what's good in one place, usually the species that is strong in one location is usually not strong in the other location. Or the other species not strong in that location is maybe how I should say that. Let's see. Colorado over-the-counter archery elk. Get after it week 1 and beat the pressure, or go 2 to 3 weeks later when it's cooler. For me, I'm going at the end. It's cooler. Folks have kind of got it out of their system. You're going to probably have fewer people in the woods. That's my own personal opinion. Now, some people say, I want to get the first crack at them. I get that. Randy, do you oil or grease your Kenetrek boots? I wax them. They have a wax-based treatment, and I wax them a lot. I mean, a lot. Randy, you were right about the Elkhorn coffee roasters. They have the best coffee I've ever drank. Big Hank is where it's at, I'm telling you. Anthony, I agree with you. And if you use promo code Randy on an order of over $30 at Elkhorn Coffee Roasters, I'll give you a discount by using promo code Randy. But yeah, it's great stuff. Randy, how do you think the current world events have affected hunting? Increases of people utilizing the land for camping, for hunting, everything else. Shannon, I'm with you. Last summer here in Montana, what happened is a lot of the states closed their borders, and Montana and Wyoming and Idaho didn't. And we had so many people here all summer. I mean, fishing here was chaos. I walleye fished 2 days last year. Normally I'll walleye fish 12, 15 days. It's just that crowded. And I thought, well, once summer's over, the crowds will leave. Well, the campers, the hikers, the mountain bikers, the bird watchers, the photographers, they didn't leave. They stayed here. I mean, we cap how many non-resident hunters we have, so that's not going to go up year over year, really. But the other users of public lands was crazy. And it wasn't just here. It was in New Mexico. It was in Colorado. It was everywhere. So I don't know if this is just a passing trend. If it's like in the past when we've had these things that cause these peaks and valleys of outdoor activities, you get the avid person who gets into it and is really serious about it. And then you get a lot of people who 2 years later, they're on to the next activity that's cool. I don't know how many will stick with it. I guess we'll see. But there were a lot of people out, no doubt about it. And I think this year we're probably going to see more of the same. Does hunting in grizzly country change any of your pre-hunting planning and gear considerations? Yes, it does. Changes a lot of my planning considerations because of where I would go in the time of year. Grizzlies aren't equally spread throughout the landscape all of hunting season. They're in a different spot in early September than they are in late September than they are in late October. So the best way, in my mind, to avoid getting eaten by a grizzly is try to go to the places where the densities are lower at the time you're hunting. And the elk kind of have that figured out also. So usually if I go to a place, and I know I'm in grizzly area, but within that area, there's places where the grizzlies are concentrated, the elk are probably going to be somewhere else. And I want to be there because there's more elk or higher densities of elk and lower densities of grizzly bears. So there's a lot of what my daily plan or even my e-scouting plan looks like based on hunting in grizzly country. Someone says all this crowded tourism keeps the grizzlies fed. So, Gerber, I was just on the phone with them yesterday. We're going to do a bunch more relaunch promos. I'd be interested to know what people think would be cool promos for these two knives. We're going to do some videos to answer the question of which one should I use. We have the exchange blade system, which comes with the 3 blades. And I use this one for my backcountry hunts. When I'm not backcountry hunting, I usually use this one, the DTS. But you can get either of these at gerbergear.com. And if you use promo code Randy, you'll save 20%. But we're trying to figure out what questions do people have about how to use these, questions about, Randy, I've never got an elk down. What would I do in this situation? What would I do in that situation? So if any of you have thoughts on that, I'd be interested to hear them. Gerber would be interested in hearing them. VX3 HD or VX5 HD? These are questions about Leupold. I use VX5 HD. They're both excellent. For the value, where value is the intersection of quality and performance with price. You are not going to find a better rifle scope anywhere in the world that has a better value proposition, the intersection of price and quality, than Leupold's VX3 HD. Done. Said it. I'll take that to my grave feeling that way. So it's really up to you. What fits your budget? So, Randy, you have 24 elk points in Colorado. Is Unit 61 worth it? I think it is. If I had 24 points, I'd be there this year, but I burned 19 points to get there. Randy, who's looking after your llamas? Bo. My deal with Bo is, he said, I'll sell you one, and he's selling me another one this summer, but I get to keep them in breeding season and in packing season. I'm like, well, Bo, that sounds like I only get them in hunting season. He's like, yeah, kind of. So what kind of great deal is that, right? I buy a llama, and I only have to take care of it during hunting season. Huh, what a country. Bo's doing great. I talked to him yesterday? No, I talked to him on Monday. He's doing fantastic, and he appreciates everybody asking how he's doing. So, Randy, do you think trail cameras are good for patterning elk, and do you use them? These guys are probably laughing because I know nothing about using trail cameras. The folks at Stealth Cam sent us a bunch of trail cameras, and I'm just now learning how to use them. Montana only legalized them 2 years ago, or 3 years ago. So I've never had a hunting season where I've owned a trail camera. So I can't, I guess when you say, do I think trail cameras, I don't know, because I've never used them for that purpose. And this year, I don't know that I'll use them for patterning elk or animals. I just like them as kind of a wildlife observation, wildlife viewing thing. I'm always curious to see what the animals are doing on the landscape year round. And these Stealth Cam ones that they sent us, so far, I'm super impressed. I set mine out while we were muskrat and beaver trapping, and I got all kinds of cool stuff, mostly hawks, eagles, ravens, just really, really interesting stuff. So let's see. Hey Randy, should I risk a 2-for-2 success rate first season rifle spot in Colorado in order to gain a point by putting a guaranteed tag as a second choice? I did notice a massive increase in pressure last year, and we got lucky and tagged out opening morning. Nothing after that due to the pressure. I would go, if you guys did 2-for-2, I'd go there every year I possibly can. That's really, really good. What's the old saying? Don't leave fish to find fish. Don't leave elk to find elk either. If you got a spot and you've got a unit that you can draw regularly, and it's a good first or second day pattern, get in there and do the same thing until it starts going downhill on you. That's cool that you went 2-for-2. Let's see. Randy, do you have a detailed video on attaching proof of sex to elk quarters when processing? We have it coming up, but we have the qualifier to that every state has a different rule about what constitutes evidence of sex. So make sure you know what the rule is in the state that you're hunting, because they all have slightly different things. Hey Randy, what's the big game rifle that you use the most? Probably my 308 or my 7mm 08. How they send me rifles. They're like, whatever one you prefer, we'll send to you. And They're usually sending me 308s and 7mm08s. So, and then someone keeps asking questions about diaphragm calls. And I say this a lot because it was the game-changing event in my ability to use a diaphragm call. Rocky Jacobson founded the company Rocky Mountain Hunting Calls. He sees me at a trade show 7 or 8 years ago in Utah. And he's like, Randy, come over here. Try this call. I want to see what's going on with your calling, because I think Rocky heard me say that I'm no good with a diaphragm call. So I put it in my mouth and I can't seal the air and it sounds terrible. He's like, sit down in this chair. And I felt like I was in the dentist chair. I sit in the chair. He's like, tilt your head back and open your mouth. So he's like, oh, you got one of those great big flat Scandinavian mouths. He hands me a different call, a little wider with no dome to it. Try this. Oh, got close. He's like, you're close. Let me try this. He gives me even a different one. Whew. Sounded like I knew what I was doing. He's like, that was your problem. You were trying to use the wrong call, both for the curvature of the roof of your mouth and the width of your palate. So now they go so far as they have a chart on their website or in their catalog that says, if your mouth is of this size or that size, try this. If you're new, try this. If you're an expert, try this, in all the sizes. So that's what it's kind of a general answer to a lot of these questions that we got related to diaphragm calls. First and foremost, make sure it fits your mouth. I now tell people trying to use a diaphragm call that does not fit your mouth is like trying to go hiking in a pair of boots that don't fit. If they're too tight, it's not going to work, and if they're too big, it's not going to work. So if you go out to Rocky Mountain Hunting Calls, use promo code Randy. They'll give you 15% off. But make sure you have the call that fits your mouth. And life will get so much easier. I can't even tell you how much easier it will get. So let's see, grab some of these ones here off a bunch of you submitted these on Instagram and Facebook today. Hey Randy, if you could only buy one hunting pack, specifically in the Mystery Ranch brand that you use, which one would you pick? Considering backcountry hunting and considering using it for both backcountry hunting and just for day trips. That's exactly the application we have, and that's why I use a Metcalf. So Mystery Ranch Metcalf is the most, what I'll call, versatile. It flattens right down, is such a great day pack, and if you expand it, it's going to hold way more elk or way more weight of anything than I can carry. So if you want to save some money on that, go out to Go Hunt's Gear Shop and use promo code Randy when you buy that Mystery Ranch pack, and they'll give you 10% off. And the same goes for black gold stuff, ripcord rests, tight spot quivers, anything out there at the Go Hunt Gear Shop. Don't pay full retail. Save money. Use promo code Randy and they'll give you at least 10% off. Some of the things that like optics, I think they give you 5% off, and that's sometimes you got to use promo code DQ to get on the Leupold optics. Sometimes you can sneak the Randy promo code in there. So without buying a bunch of calls to try, is there a place to have your mouth evaluated? The best place I've seen it being evaluated, and this sounds weird, is at the trade shows. Rocky and Kurt and all them at Rocky Mountain Hunting Calls, they will actually look at that for you, and they do a great job of looking at it. They can look and say, you know, I think you got a bit flatter roof, you got this, and but sometimes you just, you know, they're not going to send you a call and say try it and give it back. So how do you know when the call fits? Because you're not going to have this leakage of air. You're going to have the air, you're going to be able to manipulate the air as it goes across that latex reed, and you'll know. It's kind of like a good boot. How do you know when it fits? You walk around and you're like, man, that fits great. So somebody drew a late season elk tag in Arizona. Congratulations. I didn't. I thought I was going to this year. At least I'd hoped that I would, but I didn't. So, oh, also your Yeti products, you can get those out at Go Hunt. And again, use promo code Randy and save some money. Late archery elk in Arizona. Hold out for the long haul and do the early rut hunt, or go every couple of years on the late November archery hunt. I don't know. Marcus drew the late archery hunt in Arizona. I'll tell you how it goes, and that might change my mind about how I would answer that. But let's see. If I had to buy one all-around big game rifle, what cartridge would it be in? If I hunted more elk than deer, it would be in a 308. If I hunted more deer than elk, it would be in a 7mm08. So, hey Randy, just for your information, promo code Randy doesn't work at the Colorado Parks and Wildlife website. Well, what the heck? I don't know about that. Were you at the Sportsman Show in Portland last week? If you were, I missed you. Yep, I was there every day. What do we got there? We got a UFO in our building, folks. Well, that was a weird noise. Oh, someone's driving a motorcycle through the building, and our neighbors here, we got social media technology firm. So, Randy, did you hear back from your results from your heart doctor? I should have never brought that up. Now everyone's worried about me. Oh, man. I went and did a bunch of tests on Monday, and they said, inconclusive at this point, we need to see you in a week because there's this or that as a possibility. So I still got this weird, it's like my heart stutters. It goes boom, 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 and then it stutters on kaboom. And one technician said, oh, you got a very regular PVC, whatever that means. So I think I'm going to be just fine. Toby says, no, that wasn't a motorcycle. The government's just spying on you. Randy, what's a good bow for a beginner in the archery world that won't break the bank? Diamond archery. Diamond makes a great bow. They are owned by Bowtech, but it's more of they call it the family brand because it's got a lot of their really great features, but they're able to do it at a lower entry-level cost. So go check that out. I've shot diamond bows before. They shoot really well. Let's see. Here's a question that Paul asked me before we even got started today, Paul. Hey, Randy, if you were just getting into hunting, would you rather get a new optic, a pack, or a good pair of boots? Yes. That's a hard one. That is really hard. I'd say, is there one or the other I don't have? In other words, I don't have a pair of boots that I can make do with, or I don't have a pack I can make do with. They're all, for me, they're all equally important. I would really struggle to say one or the other. I guess depends on your style of hunting. For the backpack hunting we do, our boots, I mean, our feet are absolutely the wheels that get us where we got to go. So boots are so critical, and I think a lot of people take that for granted. But yet a backpack, I've had a crappy backpack before, and that really sucks too. It's just no fun to carry a lot of stuff in a cruddy backpack. And then with optics, you know, it's kind of that thing of, well, if you can't find them, are you going to have much success? Well, you might have some, but it certainly ups your chances. So that's why I said yes. But if you're looking for a pair of boots, go to Kenetrek, use promo code Randy. They'll give you a $75 pair of gaiters for buying directly from them. Eric says, Randy, I gotta say, I've bought most of the products you described, but I've never entered your promo code. Eric, come on, man. Don't pay retail. Dell says, Randy, you're gonna run out of health before you run out of money. Yeah, that's what I always say. My wife's convinced I'm trying to run us out of money. Oh, here's one. I was on the phone with Corey Jacobson on Monday and Tuesday. Corey and I have been talking too much lately. And we're putting together a bunch of ideas of how we can add stuff to his university course, maybe tweak it this way, tweak it that way. And a lot of the questions all of you ask here, we're at almost 100 pages of your questions right now. We're going to be producing content in the next couple months that have new additions to the university course. So Corey's like, Randy, make sure they know if they want the full everything. I mean, it takes a long time to get through Corey's course. I don't care if you're a beginner or you've been doing it a long time, there is stuff in there that's going to be worth it. And if you use promo code Randy at the University of Elk Hunting, he's going to give you 20 bucks off. So, have I ever hunted North Idaho Unit 4? No, I haven't. It is tough country. I mean, whew, I drive through there and it's like, man, you people who consistently kill elk in this country, you guys are really giving it an effort. You got it figured out. Randy, do you ever do any of the trade shows back east? I don't, Mark. I'm so busy out here that all the travel time to get back east is just really, really hard. Let's see. You better not croak, old man. Let's see. I don't plan on croaking. Randy, you should come to the next trade show that they have in Utah. I'll be in Utah in July. The Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation and the Total Archery Challenge are having the Mountain Festival in Park City. I'll be there for that. I think it's July 22nd through the 25th or 24th, something like that. So, what's the furthest you've ever driven to go hunting? I drove all the way to Watson Lake, Yukon Territory 2 years ago. That was a long drive. Randy, have you ever noticed some kind of secondary rut of any kind for elk X days after the peak rut? Oh yeah. That can be some of the best hunting. Matthew and I were in central Montana on Halloween. So you know that's a second cycle, possibly even a third cycle. And we shot 2 bulls out of the same great big herd, and within that herd, there were just a couple cows. I bet you there's 200 cows in this herd, and there's only a couple of them that have attracted all the attention. But when you get a cow that's coming into cycle that late, every bull on the mountain is interested. So that second cycle can be really, really good. Yeah, don't overlook that. And if you get the chance, you never know what's going to come of it. How did I do in Watson Lake? I shot a really big caribou and I shot a really, really big moose. And I shot the tine off the antler on my moose when I was finishing it off. Everybody heckles me about that one. Let's see, Pat. Hey, Randy, thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk to me at the Loophole booth in Portland. Pat, thanks for stopping by. The only downside is at that show, there's so many great people. I feel bad that I can't get to everyone. And I try my best, but thanks. Appreciate you're there. Have I ever thought about elk hunting in other countries? I have. I have thought about elk hunting in Canada, and I've also thought about elk hunting in Mongolia, but I know I can't afford to go to Mongolia because Mongolia has an elk that is very, very similar to our Rocky Mountain elk. And I thought it'd just be cool to go see the terrain. You talk about boots, Randy, but what about socks? Like socks to wick away moisture for early archery. For me, I use a wool. I use a very lightweight wool that Kenetrek has. Some people use it with a liner, and the liner's a synthetic, so it'll move moisture fast. But I use a very, very lightweight wool, and I've had super good luck with it. Kenetrek makes them. If you go out to their website, or if you go to Go Hunt, they carry Kenetrek socks. Did I end up applying in New Mexico? Oh, Matt, you're following my tracks, because a couple of weeks ago I said, I don't know if I'm going to do New Mexico. Well, guess what? I ended up doing New Mexico at the last minute. I was one of those people the last day, I got on that morning, and I did apply, but I'm not going to draw because I completely swung for the fences. I know I'm not going to draw, but there was a part of me that said, you know, Randy, you talk about if you don't apply, you're not going to draw. So don't be a wuss and not apply. Don't be a tightwad. So I applied. But I wouldn't, don't stand by your computer thinking we're going to have a YouTube episode of me hunting in New Mexico. Probably not going to happen. Hey Randy, do you think I can get bulls talking in late October? I think you can in certain places. In a place that has a ton of hunting pressure, that is rifle season, I think your odds are very, very slim. It happens, but it's very, very slim. I think it's very unlikely. Now, if you're in a limited entry unit, your odds of being able to get them to talk go way up. So, what's the best entry-level Western hunt for an inexperienced Western hunter? Absolutely pronghorn. And the reason is you have to learn the draw systems of all these states, and the Western states they have wrote the book on how to confuse the traveling non-resident. So to apply for antelope, you got to learn how the draw system works. You also have to learn how these public-private boundaries work. Where can you hunt? Where can't you hunt? You learn a lot about the whole public land. What's BLM land? What's Forest Service land? What's state trust land? There's so many things you learn in pronghorn hunting that become useful when you start hunting mule deer or elk. So I always tell people that pronghorn is the gateway drug to Western hunting, and it is a ton of fun. Oh man, I better draw a pronghorn tag this year. I've went 2 years now without a pronghorn tag, and hopefully I get one. Hey Randy, how do you stay motivated when you're out on a hunt and you don't see any elk? That's a challenge, right? When you're out there and you have big hopes and it just doesn't come together the way that you think it should, it can get you down. For me, I just realized, you know what, and this is just a mental reminder. You know what, Randy? You live in the greatest country in the world. You have all this public land. And even if you don't find that elk today, you're out hunting while the rest of the world is working. And you live in a country where if you put your mind to it, you can hunt elk every year. You can hunt multiple species every year. You live in a country where you as the citizens can own firearms without a huge hassle. All that stuff is makes me feel grateful, puts a smile on my face, and if I got a smile on my face, I'm motivated. The other thing that motivates me to not give up and not kick the dirt and feel sorry for myself is I have a lot of friends who I used to hunt with who either their health doesn't allow them to hunt today, or they're not with us anymore. And I realized my number of hunting days, it's fixed. I don't know how long how many pages are in the book that is my hunting life, but I know that it's got an end somewhere, and I'm not I'm not going to get one of those days, one of those opportunities and mope around and complain about it. I'm going to put a smile on my face and I am going. I just, yeah, that's all I need for a reminder most of the time is, you know what? There's a lot of other people who would love to be in this situation. Oh, let's see. Bodie asks, at this point in your life, what's your favorite memory, hunting or fishing? I would say, I got asked this 3 out of the 4 sessions in Portland, and it's the same answer. For me, it was when Matthew drew the Missouri Breaks rifle elk tag in Montana. He was 15. My brother Jason came out from Minnesota. We did the whole camp. Our dad had passed away the year before, so for me and Jason, it was kind of a special time. And we go there, we get there a couple days early, we find these bulls, and they just stay in the same spot. Classic post-rut situation. They're in a sanctuary, they don't move. We go there opening morning, boom, Matthew shoots this great big bull elk. And then we spend a bunch of days, well, we got it pretty much out that day. But then, you know, just pulling camp and everything and hanging out. It's I think back on it now. That's probably the fondest memory. Second to that would be the day Matthew shot his first deer. And you notice none of those are anything about my hunting. Those are special times for me, and I'm sure all of you who hunt with your kids or with special family members, you can relate to that. So, hey RJ, when do you think we're going to have, some people are asking, when's Fresh Track Season 9 going to be ready? What did we say? What did we tell Amazon?
We said early August.
Oh, we're thinking that Amazon might have it done by early August. Uh-oh. Sorry. But don't bet on that, because when you send stuff to Amazon, it might show up the day we send it to them. Or it might not show up until early October. It's just the way it is. Hey Randy, speaking of pronghorn, will you do a special pronghorn talk episode? I don't know. Might someday. I might. Let's see. What was that one? So Randy, I was following your advice last year. I was hunting a late season elk hunt. I was hiking in the snow until I started following tracks. You should have warned me about the trains. Okay, I'm not sure I get that one. All right. We're going to pass on that one because I don't know that I'm going to have a good answer. If I go hunting in Colorado, how do I get my elk meat home safely back to Georgia if I'm driving? Coolers. Get yourself 3 coolers. If you have 2 75 quarts and a 65 quart, a boned out elk and enough ice or dry ice is going to fit in that, and head home. But you're going to have to bone it out, because a quarter, a hind quarter on an elk, by the time it firms up, you got all those bones, you're going to have to let it hang and cool, and let it hang for probably 2 nights, and then bone it out, and then drop it in the cooler. Put it in the cooler in the morning. So let your cooler get really cold that night, like it does in the mountains. So the coldest time of day is right away in the morning. So get that meat in there, get some ice on it, and head home. And it will stay good until you get home. So unless you decide to stop in Nashville and stop in Branson and somewhere else. But I know if you've got that in your cooler, you're not going to do that. You're going to get home. So it'll be fine. Of all the big game I hunt, what's the best eating meat? Pronghorn. If someone has any type of complaint about pronghorn meat, I don't know what it would be. I've run probably 40 of them through my freezer, between bucks and does, and I have never had a bad pronghorn, never. But Randy, I bought a pair of the choppers and rag wool liners that you wear. Do I need to treat them to make them waterproof? I don't. Randy, the ammo manufacturers, why don't these ammo manufacturers build new facilities and make more money? Some of them have done that along the way. And what happens with these cycles? They're 2 to 3 year cycles. So they invest millions and millions in a cycle or in a facility for the peak cycle, and then the facility sits idle 7 out of 10 years. So they get asked that question a lot. And there's a few examples they throw out there of, go ask these people. They went into bankruptcy doing that. I've never had pronghorn. I hear it's gamey. Is that not true? That is not true. The only reason it would be gamey that I can think of is if you didn't take care of it right away and you laid it in the back of the truck bed and let the sun beat down on it for, all afternoon. Well, you can take the finest little steer, and if you shoot that steer, maybe don't gut it real well, drag it through the dirt, throw it in the back of your truck while you go over to your buddy's house and watch the football game, and then you decide to take it out and skin it a day later, and that steer isn't going to taste very good either. So I don't know. I hear that so much about pronghorn, and all I can figure is that it's probably related to just the time of year, usually warmer, and people just don't take care of them quite as quickly. I've shot pronghorn in every sage environment you can think of, eastern Montana, Wyoming, Nevada. I have never had one that was strong and gamey, but oh well. So someone says, hey Randy, he was pulling your leg. It was a joke about following train tracks. That's like a dad joke. All right, I'm sorry. I should have had Donnie here reading it. Donnie's the master of dad jokes. I'm an accountant. I'm behind everybody, so sorry about that. Do I miss accounting? No. I was down there today. I don't miss it at all. Not at all. What else we got here? How far off the beaten path will I shoot an elk in hot weather? It's not so much how far, because flat ground, I'd shoot it further off the beaten path than if it was down in a canyon or up on a mountain that I knew was going to take longer. So it's about how long will it take me to get one out. If it's in hot weather, I will quarter that and I will hang it in the shade where the breeze can get to it. And I will take some of it out with me that day and I will let it hang overnight. And in most places elk live, you're going to get a cold nighttime temperature that will cool that off with the wind blowing on it. And I'll come and get the rest of it the next day. So however much distance I can get it out by noon the next day, that's how far I'm willing to go. And that's also a function of the topography. So, Randy, do you think that opening day pressure moves elk up or down or just to cover and sanctuary? It can be either. I've seen places in Arizona and New Mexico where it moves them down into canyons. I've seen places in Montana and Wyoming where it moves them up, higher up the mountain. The sanctuary is where other hunters don't want to go, and sometimes that's they don't want to climb up. Or sometimes it's I don't want to go down because I don't want to haul an elk out of there. Or it's I don't want to go 6 miles behind that closed gate. So it can be a function of all things. I don't know. It's kind of situation specific how they respond. But over time, you kind of get the hang of it, and you'll figure it out. Randy, love the show. I'm a Montana resident and could hunt 2 4-day weekends at different times of archery or a week straight. Which would you choose? I'd hunt a week straight, and here's why. Is in a week, you're really starting to figure out the pattern by about day 3 or 4. So if you can add another 2 or 3 days onto that, those last 3 or 4 days, your odds go way up. Whereas you come for 4 days, you just start getting it figured out, and you got to leave for 5 days. And then you come for 4 more days, and the whole deck could have been reshuffled. Could have been a storm came in, could have been difference in hunting pressure. If it's rifle season, could be a migration. They've migrated differently to a different spot. I'd take the week straight if I could do it. Let's see. Do you need a Colorado hunting license just to buy a preference point? Yes, you got to buy one of their qualifying licenses. By the time you buy that and the habitat stamp, the minimum, the lowest price one is the small game license. You're gonna be into it about $95, and then whatever the cost for a point is, I think that's another $9. So. Hey Randy, talk about hunting elk in pronghorn country. I've done that before. What? Let's see. Hunt what all looks the same sage everywhere. You know, it kind of does all look the same everywhere, but they're going to be in certain places for certain reasons. I've seen a lot of elk out in the sage. When I'm pronghorn hunting in Wyoming, I see them out in the sage. And they're out there because there might be oil and gas roads just about everywhere, but you might find some place where there's not a lot of oil and gas roads, and that's where they're at. Or in this checkerboard stuff you see in Wyoming. You're like, oh, this is all antelope country. And you look and you see this big elk rack standing above the sage. Well, a lot of that checkerboard country discourages hunters from trying to navigate it. And so you'll see elk there. It's kind of like every place else. Elk use the landscape to satisfy the need they have. And usually when I'm pronghorn hunting, it's October, which puts the elk in a post-rut period, which means they're looking for sanctuary to get away from the people. So I just kind of look at it in the same way of trying to get that mindset of what's an elk going to do to go find sanctuary. Even though it all looks the same, it's not all the same in the minds of an elk. Let's see. Have I ever had lead poisoning in meat? Not that I know of. Some people might say, Randy, I think you had lead poisoning. Did you eat lead paint as a child? Let's see. What was that one? Oh, no, I'm not going to answer that one. Randy, do you ever hunt Oregon? If so, what's your thoughts on the best units? I was going to hunt Oregon last year, but I ate the tag because with COVID, we would have had to go in quarantine for 14 days. They had some really tight restrictions in Oregon. Well, me, 2 camera guys, we're going to catch up with Matthew and his girlfriend Lillian. I can't have me and my crew gone for 14 days in quarantine and then film for another day or another week. That's 3 weeks to get 1 week of content. Can't do that, so I ended up eating the tag. And I applied for an easy to draw rifle tag for Roosevelt's, and I don't know what the best units are. I wish I could, but I was going there to hunt Roosevelt's in November. And I don't know if I'll apply this year. It just depends on what we have for other tags. So can you use e-bikes in Montana? That depends. Some places you can, some places you can't. You have to look at the Land Management Agency rules. So BLM is going to have a set of rules. Forest Service is going to have a set of rules. State lands are going to have a set of rules. And the BLM rules and the Forest Service rules might not be the same for each parcel of land they own. So get the travel management maps. You can get them online. They'll tell you what's allowed and what's not allowed. In wilderness areas, the answer is no. You can't use e-bikes. You can't even use non-e-bikes, like just an old mountain bike. Zeb, every time Zeb gets on here, he's got to be from Wyoming. He's like, no elk in Wyoming. Don't worry about putting in. Move along. There's two places where the resident hunters say, move along, move along. It's Wyoming and Idaho. Those guys are always putting up the smoke screen. Zeb, we're on to you. That tells me, if you know Zeb, follow him. He's got a hot spot. Randy, do you bone out hindquarters from the inside of the leg or the outside of the leg? I bone them out from the inside, right here along the femur. You can get to the femur really quick, part those muscle joints, and you're good. Last year, I was informed in Montana by a game warden that evidence of sex does not have to be naturally attached. Well, that would be news to me. My understanding is it has to be naturally attached to at least one of the hindquarters. I would check that out. I wouldn't go by that. He might have just cut you some slack. Or maybe you asked him the question and that's what he gave you. Can you use a suppressor to hunt in Montana? Yes. And I'm thinking about getting a suppressor because I'm tired of going, huh? What's that? Huh? Eh? But it's a pain to get one. And I get it, but I want one. So Eric says, oh, and don't worry, there's no whitetails in Iowa either. Guess what, Eric? Matthew and I have enough points in Iowa. We could hunt any unit in Iowa for whitetails. You aren't faking me out. I've driven through Iowa enough. I know what's there. Randy, do you offer tours of your garage? No, but was it in the Ask Me Anything, RJ, where they asked me when my next Come and Get It event will be? Yes. So we filmed this in my shop. A lot of people know that every 2 or 3 years I have a Come and Get It event where I don't sell stuff. It's just come and get it, and if it's got a green tag, it's $20. If it's got a red tag, it's $10, and all the money goes to the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation. I don't know when I'm going to have that. Soon. I'm getting too much stuff. Hey Logan, how you doing, buddy? Saw you at the Sportsman Show last week. Thanks for being here. Oh man, now all you people, no matter, I can tell what state you live in because you're all saying, oh, move along. Like some guys saying there's no mule deer in Wyoming. Have I ever hunted antelope in South Dakota? I've not. I have not at all. How much land do you need to own to be considered a resident? That has nothing, in all the western states I'm aware of, how much land you own doesn't determine whether you are or are not a resident. What determines residency in most states is your driver's license, where you're registered to vote, and where you file a resident income tax return, and where you reside. So, states are really catching on to that, and now that we have computers, the guys who used to go and buy 4 resident licenses in 4 different states, they're the ones who've been losing their hunting privileges with a regular frequency. So, let's see. A lot of people asking, how does the Wyoming elk draw work? You missed the deadline. It was January 31st. So we have videos out there, and we focus on that when we do these Wednesday night events in January. So unfortunate, but you missed the deadline. But you're going to be able to go buy a point in Wyoming, even those of you who missed the deadline. You're going to be able to buy a point. I think it starts July 1st and runs through, I know, the end of September, possibly the end of October. Whenever you harvest an elk in grizzly country, do you get the feeling you're being watched? Yes, I do. It's always one of the most unsettling times is when we're in grizzly country and we're coming back for that next load of meat. And how we do it, the elk dies here, we're quartering it, we go 200-300 yards away and we hang the quarters upwind in a spot that we can glass from a little direction, a little bit of distance. But still, even though you're looking at it, you got this great big gut pile and bones and stuff over there a couple hundred yards. It's just in your head, especially when you come back the next day. It's like, I wonder if this guy's going to be around here. So, best way to hunt elk in timbered country: move. Don't hunt them in timbered country. There are elk in there. No doubt there are elk in timbered country, but the lowest densities in most places are going to be in these big pockets of thick timber. So I hunt the edges, anything that represents an edge, like a burn, a clear cut, a logging thinning operation, an avalanche chute. Elk prefer to be near edge areas. They'll be inside that bit of cover during the day, they're bedded in there, and then they'll come out and they'll feed right along that edge right at dark, or in the morning you'll see them feeding there as they're working their way into the timber. I never go and hunt those great big expanses, 5 miles wide of dark timber. There's elk in there, but the densities are lower, and for me, I want to have my time spent where the highest density of elk exists. So anyhow, I appreciate y'all being here. You guys are so supportive of everything we do. I can't thank you enough. Hey, Paul, when's our survey going out?
Probably end of this week.
End of this week. So Paul and RJ have been working on a survey with me, and it's because so many of you in our survey last summer asked for this, and it's never going to replace YouTube or all of our other free stuff. But a lot of you are saying, Randy, could you start a subscription-based model where we don't have ads, where we can get everything in one place, and we don't have to worry about big technology, like whatever algorithm YouTube or Facebook or whoever's going to serve you up something. So we're sending out a survey to explore that a little more. Just this week, I don't know how many times we've had posts on Facebook pulled recently. We got a YouTube video demonetized. I get it. We do stuff, we convert animals to food. And for some people, they don't like that, so they report us. But I'd be a fool as a business owner to not be thinking about ways to become less reliant on YouTube, Facebook, or whatever else it is. So I don't know what we're going to do, but you're all going to get a chance to take that survey. And what did we decide was going to be the prize? Yeti cooler? Yeah, I think we're going to give away a Yeti cooler for anyone who takes the survey. Hayden's already saying, where's the survey? It's not ready yet. It's going to go out late this week, early next week. So, but anyhow, appreciate all of you being here. Don't miss the Montana deadline tomorrow, and don't miss the Colorado deadline on April 6th. And if you want to know more about all this stuff, there's 2 resources that are invaluable for all this elk hunting. It's Go Hunt, their insider. Use promo code Randy, get the $50 gift card. And the University of Elk Hunting course with my buddy Corey Jacobson. Go sign up for that. Use promo code Randy and get $20 off. Thanks for being here, and thanks for watching.